So we have some more excerpts from Barack Obama's new book, and this one was blowing up on social media for obvious reasons. I felt quietly angry on his behalf, talking about George W. Bush. To protest a man in the final hour of his presidency seemed graceless and unnecessary. More generally, I was troubled by what these last-minute protests said about the divisions that were churning across the country and the weakening of whatever boundaries of decorum had once regulated politics. This is Barack Obama with George W. Bush going to his inauguration. There were protests of George W. Bush, and Barack Obama was angry about it. He's calling protests of George W. Bush graceless and unnecessary. And he's decrying, literally, he used the word, he's decrying the breakdown of decorum, good sir. Breakdown of civility and decorum, good sir. He's like being my stuck-up character, but in real life. All right, with George W. Bush, when he left office, he had one of the lowest approval ratings of all time in the entire history of the U.S. presidency. If I remember correctly, his approval rating was 22%. Just so you know, Trump's is way higher than that. Way higher. 22% his approval rating was. Why? Because he waged multiple illegal wars, and the economy also tanked, and we had the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. So Barack Obama, sitting next to a war criminal, by the way, there was also torture done under his administration, George W. Bush's administration. He sees people protesting Bush, and he's more mad at the protesters. See, this is the problem with the elites. The elites really do believe in the fairy tale, the myth of American exceptionalism. So Barack Obama thinks, hey, whether it's Democrat or Republican, if they're in the ruling class, well then, I give them a pass in terms of their intentions because I think they mean well, and since they mean well, anything where we disagree, it's just a disagreement. That's all it is. It's just a difference on strategy. Well, I got news for Barack Obama. Torture is not just a disagreement. It's not just a difference of opinion. Illegal wars, it's not just a difference of opinion or a disagreement. Those are supposed to be beyond the pale. Those are supposed to be out of bounds. Those are supposed to be against the law, quite literally. In the case of torture, it's unconstitutional as well. It's a violation of the Eighth Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment. But he doesn't see it that way. He thinks, to steal the line from George Carlin, it's a big club. You and I aren't in it. George W. Bush is in it. Barack Obama is in it. And this shows you that he always had... This is in 2008 or 2009. This shows you that he always had that thing, guys. He always was going to be Bill Clinton 2.0. He was always going to be the triangulator. He was always going to be the moderate centrist above the fray type character. Because this is him in 2009. So it was never about... It was never like he was getting into politics and running for president because he was so turned off by the illegal war that he wanted to bring about justice. He wanted to end those wars. No. You see it here. He is a card-carrying member of the cult of the elite. And he recognizes George W. Bush is in that same cult. He recognizes they're part of the same establishment, and so he protects that establishment from the radical, loud, boisterous savages, outsiders. Look at these peasants, angry about illegal wars and a collapsing economy. Look at these peasants. What are they doing? This is so uncivil. This breaches decorum. My politics are the exact opposite of this. I want more of those people in the street protesting George W. Bush. Just like I want more protesting Trump, just like I want more protesting Biden. You need to force these people to do the right thing because they're not going to do it willingly. They're basically bought and owned by corporations. They're bought and owned by Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. They're going to represent Wall Street and the military-industrial complex unless you force them not to do it. And in order to force them not to do it, you need bodies in the street. You need to make them feel like they have no choice. But Barack Obama thinks that's a little too obnoxious and uncivil, and it breaches decorum. So it's unacceptable. Come on, guys. How dare you protest a torturing war criminal who crashed the economy? How dare you do that? He's admitting that he was never the guy that some of us thought he was early on, you know? Because he did. Barack Obama gave people hope that we could have like a new FDR. He gave people hope that he would change the way Washington works and get money out of politics and end the corruption and not listen to Wall Street and do what Wall Street wants, not do the endless wars. He gave people hope on that front. But again, once he got into power, he was Bill Clinton 2.0. He governed as a corporatist, as a centrist. And, you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're a centrist in Washington, D.C., that just means you're right smack dab in the center of the swamp because they're corrupt. So a centrist in the Washington, D.C. context is not the same as a centrist among, you know, regular people in America, being right smack dab in the middle of mainstream U.S. public opinion. That's a good thing. That would be, you know, like a centrist defined as in the center of public opinion would be somebody who's for a living wage and Medicare for all and ending the wars. That'd be a centrist for the spectrum for the entire country. A centrist in D.C. means you're just a really smug, out-of-touch, establishment, elitist corporatist who continues the status quo, goes right back to business as usual, serves Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. And that's what we have here. Imagine being angry that somebody's protesting George W. Bush. My thought would be, there should be more people here protesting George W. Bush. If there was ever anything to protest, it would be torture and it would be war crimes. And this is how you know they're really in a cult and they really have drunk the Kool-Aid of American exceptionalism. Is because if it was a leader of one of our official state enemies, so if people were protesting the Iranian government because they did torture and they did illegal wars, Barack Obama would be cheering those people on, calling them democracy lovers and freedom lovers and righteous. But when it's protesting the U.S. government, no. Now you crossed the line. How dare you? That's uncivil. So it's unacceptable. I will not be reading this 17th autobiography of Barack Obama because the excerpts are enough to make my blood boil.